Good evening. We are from Ukraine. My name is Raul. You are watching the Ukraine on Fire project. On the 41st day of the war, I have to admit that a new reality has been finally formed in Russia. It is well conveyed by the picture of the Russian artist Vasily Loshkin, who back in 2009 very realistically described the Russian attack on Ukraine and the victory of Ukraine. I do not idealize Vasily, I do not know his position on the war in Ukraine. I don't know if he acknowledged the intrusion. But this map here, where there are only enemies and non-entities around, this is the reality in which the population of Russia has been living for almost 20 years, and now its government, which has been poisoned by its own propaganda. And the dreams of this government and people are very simple and understandable to every citizen. Vasily also portrayed her very intelligibly. Therefore, we must understand that this is a different reality with valuable people. At the moment, they cannot be saved because they don't want any kind of salvation. All that remains is to record the horror of what is happening and prevent this info-infection from spreading throughout the world. Yesterday, the Russian edition of Medusa published a search result for Butch, Yandex and Google. Everything is fine with the city. On the second real destruction. Who do you think the average Russian believes in? Right. National fake search engine. Yandex wasn't always like that either, but the usual greedy pussies and halloui sit there, with which the usual bizarre propagandist named Simon Yang coped.
I will now tell you what Yandex gives me. I'll just read it. The first link is former Russian Deputy Prime Minister is sure Putin has gone mad. Second link. Shandirovich. Russia lost the war. Russia lost everything. Russia, in fact, no. I am looking for Kornilov. First link. Shandirovich. Russia lost the war. Russia lost everything. Russia, in fact, no. Second link. The former Russian Deputy Prime Minister is sure Putin has gone mad. I'll tell you that with such Yandex, we are not afraid of any Google. In the end, it is necessary to restore order everywhere along the perimeter.
In any country with a free press, both such feints with the ears would most likely end with the bankruptcy of Yandex and the transition of Simon Yang to work in a stall selling carnations. In Russia at the beginning of the 2000s, it is similar. But then Putin happened to the country, who for many years nurtured a monster in the deep Kremlin cellars. I even understand why the world has not noticed that modern Russia is not human. It just so happens that if a monkey is surrounded by cultural artifacts, dressed in a Bryony costume, given an iPhone and put in a Mercedes, it will pass for a human for some time. If this is a monkey, he will hire one German chancellor, and the second will be an agent in Stasi. And the rest of the participants in the political landscape will burp Russian petrodollars. Then you can even attack Georgia in 2008 and Ukraine in 2014. And it must be admitted that the world and Ukraine were very lucky that in 2022, Joe Biden, and not the red-haired slicker Donald, was in the presidency of the United States. And, of course, God save the Queen for Boris Johnson. Today I have been going to the target for quite a long time, but everything I have said is important. The USSR and Russia are practically the same thing. Only the USSR was a monster. And Russia is a mutant. The agony of the first took longer, the agony of the second will happen in a few years. The USSR produced the most crappy products in the world. But everything was their own, from scary shoes to scary furniture sets. Russia is integrated into the global world market. She herself can only produce gases, and then on imported equipment. They will not die of hunger, but in 5 years they will compete with Mongolia in terms of technology. And I wouldn't bet on Russia. And now a little life hack for Instagram women and hipsters who were born in the year 95 or 2000. Do you not understand at all what awaits you? But I'll tell you now. Here is the tear-off calendar. In every Soviet toilet, well, in almost every prosperous Soviet street toilet, this calendar hung on the wall. What for? We'll explain. You came to the toilet and tore off this leaflet and, in the process of defecation, could read what day it is in the country today. Welder's Day, KGB-SDA's Day, Builder's Day. Does not matter. After everything was completed, you used this very piece of paper for its intended purpose. But once again I repeat, such calendars were in short supply in the Soviet Union. Many of them had a newspaper. You first read it, then cut it, after which you stuck a whole pack of tear-off leaflets on a nail. After the end of the process, take a newspaper, carefully rub it so that it is softer and use it again for its intended purpose. So boys and girls, no anus whitening and sugaring, now everything is grown up. And we have not yet discussed what will have to replace the gaskets. But before an economic collapse, there always comes a reputational collapse. The Soviet Union could lie for 70 years about the Molotov-Ribbentrop Pacts, about the execution of Polish officers in Khotyn, about the Gulag, about the riot in Novokakhovsk, about the broken Korean Boeing. For half of my life I listened and read the Soviet press that it was not us, the USSR shot down Boeing. Then, about the fact that, apparently, we beat Boeing, but it was a spy plane. And when the scoop collapsed, I read an interview with the pilots who flew up to a civilian plane and shot it down on command from Moscow. 269 people died, absolutely innocent. The Soviet Union hid the truth about the tragedy for 10 long years. Be sure to Google after the plot for any event that I have listed, and you will understand that Russian propaganda is no different from the Soviet one. But in a world where hundreds of spy satellites fly in orbit, and billions of people have turned into reporters with cameras and instant access to an audience of millions, nothing can be hidden even for a day. Russian propaganda was saying yesterday morning that the massacre in Bucha was staged. Toward evening, what a planned provocation of Ukraine, which itself tortured and killed civilians in its country. One of the arguments. Why did Ukraine publish photos and videos on April 4th? If the Russians came out of there on the 31st of March. First of all, this is also a lie. The first photo appeared on the 1st of April. But there is no point in arguing, because last night the New York Times published satellite images of Bucha, which indicate that the corpses of civilians have been lying on the streets since at least the 19th of March, and maybe even since the 11th. But there will be more leaks of photos and videos of the murders themselves. Because I am 100% sure that the war criminals filmed everything and will definitely show off to their friends and relatives. Hackers and intelligence agencies do not sleep either. The Post Office of Belarus has already leaked all the data of Russian marauders, which sent looted. For example, in Inglorious.
Hello, Nikolai Nikolaevich, hello. Company about your shipment, in Inglorious. The problem is that there was a problem with the delivery. She is delayed. Did you receive SMS? I cannot hear anything. Okay. Where did you get these parts? Air conditioner parts. Do you have purchase receipts? Stepanov, we will massacre you, your entire family, you and your accomplices. You will not run away from responsibility.
And now I turn to marauders, murderers, executioners, and their families. A tribunal will be set up in Ukraine in the near future, and a special unit that will execute the sentence regardless of the citizenship, place of residence and jurisdiction of the offender. Have you heard of the Wiesenthal Foundation? Which still finds real Nazis and brings to court. So this is only 10%, the rest were simply killed all over the world. Read more about the Special Operation Wrath of God. And what happened to the terrorists who killed the Jewish team at the Munich Olympics in 1972. Ukraine already knows the number of the unit that occupied, killed and tortured people in Bucha. We know the names of the commanders. We have personnel lists and your photographs. No Khabarovsk territory will save you. Indulgence can only be given to the person who will be the first to contact the Ukrainian special services and testify against the criminals. An important clarification. Ukrainians absolutely do not care what the Russians themselves think about the atrocities of their soldiers in Bucha and in other cities and villages of Ukraine. We don't need to prove anything to anyone. The whole world saw these war crimes. We don't need your sympathy or apologies. Just give us the criminals. And now the news about some more inglorious bastards. Kadyrov's TikTokers. If yesterday, according to a long tradition, they fought an unequal battle with a traffic light, 3-to-1 unarmed traffic light, today they are repairing the massacre of the blinds. To be honest, everything is so choreographic and enthusiastic that at some point I thought that the Lazinka would sound and the saber dance would begin. I don't understand how they restrained themselves and didn't start shouting, "Hey, money, come on money." Meanwhile, I continue to fix the corrosion of the brain of the leadership of the Russian Federation. Dmitry Medvedev said that the Ukrainian radical has grown up behind the student bench for 30 years and now hates everything Russian. And the task of the two gnomes is to change the consciousness of Ukrainians and create an open Eurasia from Vladivostok to Lisbon. And this is what the man who grew out of Vladimir Putin's sock tells us. Diamond, what is Eurasia from Vladivostok to Lisbon? Start greatness by building SOARs in your cities. Make toilets and washing machines accessible to your residents. When you're done, let's talk about a reasonable monthly supply of laundry detergent. Each truck will have a box of glass washing as a gift. Eurasia Dmitry Medvedev is not even funny. And here is Diamond for you, the answer of a simple Ukrainian radical who is ready to call fire on himself if only your Eurasians go to hell.
A little notice to you. If Russian invaders come to us, to our city, here on this earth, any technique of the occupier, even if I'm at home, I give my consent for you to destroy the Russian occupier in my yard, because I won't survive the Russian world.
Тому що я російського миру, я точно не переживу. І я його не хочу, не хотів і не буду хотіти.
But of course, Vladimir Putin's miniature golem is not alone in his stubbornness. Here is the statement of the Federation Council.
Sovereignty is currently a luxury that everyone cannot afford. So I'm not sure that Ukraine should retain its sovereignty after our operation. Like many others, small states.
I would like to draw the attention of European viewers to the fact that in terms of size, Ukraine is the largest country in Europe. So, dear Europeans, based on the doctrine of the Russian Federation Council, you have problems. Remember yesterday's issue I demanded from Germany and France washing machines and refrigerators? Because they will help stop the offensive of the Russian Federation. Friends, we also need laptops. Preferably Apple. It turns out that Russian space marines use them as bulletproof vests, and I'm absolutely not joking.
I thought to take a plate of Russian, I get it. Look, it's double. Wow, I turn it over to the other side, and this is an Apple laptop.
А це ніхто не бронік. Йоу, історія з броніком не закончилась. Пішов я, блін, сфоткать таки, блін.
Yo, the bulletproof vest story isn't over.
Сепарський. Він одвигає я сепарський, щоб поки видно було піксель їхній, От він, сука. Перевертаю я його.
And there are two apples, a laptop and an iPad.
Сука. Два. Він за цього лептопа, блін, цього взяв чи макбука, блін, і айпада. От так, блін, ребята, но у нього прилетіла...
But a bullet hit him. This is how the conquerors conquer Ukraine.
Завойовують. От тако. Ніколи не можна бути такими п***цями, як вони.
That's all, Russia will be overthrown. Glory to Ukraine.
Перемога буде за нами. Слава Україні.
And now I will show you where the attack was being prepared on Belarus.